In today's video, I'm going to take these two signs that I got from Dollar Tree a couple of years ago, and I am going to just jazz them up a little bit and take them from cute to hopefully even cuter. I do like these signs, but I just want to embellish them and change them up a little bit. So let's get crafting. So for most of this video, I'm going to do a voiceover because I'm crafting on a Sunday afternoon and my family are home and I didn't want them to make them be quiet. So I'm just going to do a voiceover. I'm not very good at voiceovers, but I will do my best. The first thing I'm going to do is take the hanger off. I tried to pull the little plastic thing that was holding it in place off, but it wouldn't come off, so I just snipped it off, and I am going to be saving these to reuse at the end, and so I could just pull it on through. So it did have the little plastic thingy on the one side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the little burlap, kind of supposed to be like the lid to the jar, I guess. These are supposed to be shaped like a mason jar. So I'm going to go ahead and take that burlap off. The burlap was cute, but I wanted to make it a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to use some aluminum foil. Now, if I add a thicker aluminum foil, it would be better, but I just was using what I had. So I'm just going to smooth it out, and I am going to trace around this shape. Now I am going to use the end of my paintbrush to trace it because I didn't want to get up again and go find a pencil. And so I thought, what do I have here that'll work? And the end of the paintbrush worked just fine. And then I'm just going to take my scissor and cut it out. I liked the saying on here, grateful and blessed, and it was in an orange glitter. It's really kind of hard to see the glitter in this angle, but it was an orange glitter, and I didn't mind the orange glitter. I just wanted to tone it down some. I started off using nutmeg, apple barrel nutmeg paint, but after I did a few letters with the nutmeg, I wasn't exactly happy with it, so I went ahead and switched to bronze, and I really liked the way the bronze turned out better. After the paint dried, I went ahead and painted the letters and did the aluminum lid on the other sign too. So I'm just kind of working on one sign at a time. But I wanted to do both of the painting on both so they could be drying at the same time. Anyway, if that makes any sense. But after the paint was dry, I decided I wanted to give the sign a little bit of definition and to finish off the raw edges because I didn't really like the way the cardboard looked around the outside edge. So I am doing that with some jute twine and some hot glue, and I'm trying to be really careful and not burn myself because that glue is really hot. So I'm just being very careful to tap it very gently on the sign, and I take the jute twine and I go all the way around. I ended up doing 3 strips of the jute twine. The first strip that I put down, I wasn't getting it quite on the edge, on the cardboard edge, and so I went back around and I did a second time and I made sure that it got right on the very edge of the cardboard, and because my jute twine wasn't very thick, it didn't meet the first time around, if that makes any sense. So here I'm doing a third time around to fill in the gap between what I put kind of more on the top of the sign and then what I put on the edge of the sign. If I had had a thicker jute cord, I probably could have gotten away with going just one time around, but after I did it the third time, it did really look really nice. But I only went one time with the jute between the aluminum foil and the sign, between the lid, what's supposed to be the lid to the jar, and the jar itself. I didn't do that 3 times because I thought it would look too bulky. And this is a little trick that I learned from some other crafters to get all the little hairs that come up on the jute twine. You just use a lighter to burn them off. Olivia walked in on me when I was doing this part of the craft and she's like, are you a pyromaniac? That looks a little dangerous. She's such a little stinker. But it actually does work really, really well. You just obviously have to watch it. But I'm really kind of surprised that the stuff wasn't more flammable. I mean, it just kind of burned off the little hairs and then put itself out. But that's a really neat trick, and it worked really, really well. And now I am going to dress up the top. I'm going to make what is called a messy bow. And you just take an assortment of ribbons. You can use just scraps of ribbon, whatever you have in your stash that coordinate good together. And then you just kind of stack them one on top of each other. And you can cut them a little bit smaller, graduating, smaller down from the bottom one. I'm not making a lot of sense, but you're going to just stack them one on top of the other, and so you're going to want to gradually make each ribbon that you choose a little bit shorter so that the longest ribbon is on the bottom. After you have all the ribbons cut that you want to use, then you lay them in a crisscross pattern. You cut 2 of each ribbon, And this is what I mean by putting the longest one at the bottom, and then you just gradually go up shorter, shorter, shorter till you get the shortest one on the very top. And then I am going to cut a piece of jute cord and just put it around the middle. You want to put it to where you're tying it in the back. Now I did make a mistake here, and I had the polka dot ribbon turned the wrong direction, but I do fix that later on. But you just tie it in a really, really tight knot, and then you cut off the extra jute, and then you dovetail all of the ribbons. Now when I make the ribbon for the next sign, I dovetail all the ribbon before I tie them together, and it went a lot faster, and it was a lot easier to dovetail them first before you tie them up. Then you just kind of fluff and fluff and fluff. You get them set where you want to, and then I'm just going to apply it with some hot glue, and I put a sunflower in the middle because there are sunflowers on the sign. Then I just have some of this pipberry garland in off-white and in green, and I'm twisting it around my fingers to make a curly Q, and then I'm hot gluing them onto the ribbon to embellish it. And then I decide to add a sunflower on to the sunflower that's printed on the picture. I just decided to hot glue it on there. I thought it would add some dimension and some interest to the bottom of the sign. And then the last thing I need to do is to put the hanger back on. So I used the end that had the little plastic, it's like the end of a shoestring, and poked it through first, and then here I am trying to get the other end that I had to cut the little plastic doohickey off of back through that hole, and I just couldn't get it. So I ended up putting just a tad of hot glue on there, waited till it cooled just a bit, and then twisted it, and that worked like a charm. It went right through very easily that way. And then I just tied, or I didn't even tie a knot, I just flooded it with a bunch of hot glue, and then I took just a snippet of ribbon and laid it on top to hold it into place and to secure it. And there the handle is back on the sign. And now it's time to move on to the other sign. Like I said, I already did the lid, I already painted the lettering, and I already put the jute around the outside edge. So now I am just working on the messy bow. And like I said, in this one I actually dovetailed the ribbons first. It made a whole lot of a difference, made it so much easier. And in this messy bow, I did make a few different choices for ribbon because the two pictures are slightly different. Well, they're actually quite a bit different. They just are of the same theme, being fall and being mason jar shaped. But anyway, I did make some different choices for the ribbons. And here I am cutting some raffia. I thought I was going to try to incorporate some raffia into the bow, but it just didn't work out. It didn't look right, and it was too hard to work with. So set that to the side and didn't end up using it. this one, I decided to use these little tiny pine cones. They were on the same pick that the pip berries were on, and so I used those for the center of the bow instead of the sunflower like I did for the other one. I thought it just added quite a nice little touch to this bow. And then I decided to go ahead and twist those pip berries that I had incorporated into the bow, the white pip berries. I decided to go ahead and twist those around. I was going to use the paintbrush handle, but then I said, I'll just do it on my finger, it'll be better. And it just added a little bit more texture and interest to the bow, I think. And then I did decide to go ahead and add another color of pipberry in off of the pipberry little pick that the pine cones were on. I decided to use the dark green ones. And so I also decided on the bottom of this sign, at the very bottom, there was in the cart is a cart of apples. So I had these little wooden apples that I got from the Dollar Tree. It was a whole pack of them. And I decided to go ahead and paint it. And I am using Red Apple is the name of this paint from Apple Barrel. And then I'm using a little bit of the nutmeg to paint the stem. And then I'm taking one of the leaves that was left over from the sunflower little pick that I had, and I'm going to cut a little leaf to hot glue onto the apple. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue it right on top of another apple. And it wasn't a cart, it's a basket. But there, you can see that there's a picture of an apple there, and it's just exactly the right size as this wooden apple. So I'm putting that there to add dimension and interest to the picture. And here they are, all finished. I think they turned out super cute. And the reason why I put the bows on opposite corners is because these hang on the same wall across from each other. So I thought it would look more symmetrical to have them have the bows on the opposite corners. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have used a different type of glue to put down the foil, because you can see the glue through there, but that's okay. It doesn't really bother me too much, and I kind of like the rustic element of it. I love how just adding these two little touches added dimension to the pictures, and putting a little bit of paint over the tops of those sparkly letters just toned them down a bit. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know which one you like the best, the sunflower one or the apple one. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below, and we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye, friends.